After exiting a multi-six-figure salary, working in Fortune 500 finance corporations for almost 9 years, working with very ultra high net worth clients, and also scaling this agency for the past 3 years, I can tell you with absolute conviction that the biggest industry stall right now for anyone trying to reach high income months is the disconnect in the online marketing space right now between how quickly that success is actually achievable. And that is what I want to speak to in this video, because right now so many founders, and I speak and engage with hundreds of them every single month, they are struggling because they know they have an offer, they know it's worth so much more than they're charging, they're ready to set that price, they're ready to charge that, but they believe, based on all the noise that they're seeing in the market, that there's this magic strategy that's going to align everything and convert. They believe that this can happen quickly, that they can successfully go from 0 or just a couple of clients or maybe 20 clients a month right now and go to 100 clients in the span of, a month. It's not realistic. It cannot happen. And I am here to explain why and walk you through what you need to have in place so that you can successfully scale, so that you can hit high income months, and to set a realistic timeline, because right now that's missing right in the online space. So for those of you who are new to this channel, I'm Esther. I am the founder of Cotton Owl. I have successfully exited corporate over 3 years ago, over 2.5 years ago. I own 2 businesses, both that have reached multiple 5 and 6 figures, and have successfully removed myself almost entirely from the operations of Cotton Owl Agency. And I've done that in a really short time span when you think about the bigger corporations, like the finance ones that I've left, where those types of strategies, that possibility for a founder to even be able to do that, are typically not done in that time span. So when you are thinking about selling your high ticket offer, when you are thinking about scaling your high ticket offer, there are stages to that. So I want to speak to the first stage, and wherever you are in your business journey, this video is going to walk you through the next stage. So you can find the timestamps below, skip forward to where you are if you're not at the beginning, because I'm going to go through how this evolves. So the first is, if you have a high ticket offer, you need clients for that high ticket offer. You need the right strategy. There is not a magic strategy, but there is a specific strategy that does need to be in place for high ticket client acquisition. Now, there are different ways and different places that you can bring that strategy. You can have an organic strategy, you can have a paid strategy, you can have a direct messaging strategy, but there is a specific strategy for high ticket client acquisition within those buckets, right? That's the first step. So which of those strategies, if you're currently trying to figure out how to navigate this, the first piece of advice I have for you is figure out what strategy you like the best. Do you like the idea of being on social 24/7? Do you like the idea of creating content all the time? Do you like the idea of having ads bringing your clients to you 24/7? Do you like the idea of seeing those meta ads receipts go out of your account? Do you like the idea of sending direct messages on LinkedIn or Instagram or even Facebook, right? What actually excites you when you think about reaching your potential client? Because that's where you start. Now, that's just the marketing. Step 2 is, let's assume now you've moved, you've decided what your strategy is, you have your marketing strategy in place, you've decided which one you want. Now we look at the selling. How are you selling it? Are you selling it with a sales page? With high ticket offers, you cannot sell with a sales page to a cold audience. The people that you see successfully doing that have been in the industry for years. They have a proven following. They have a warmed audience. If you are just starting or you've only been in the industry for a year, I would even argue 2 years, you are not going to be able to sell to a cold audience on a high ticket offer without having a sales call. So now you need to look at your strategy. What are you doing for selling? And are you actually successfully selling? Because I see so many founders who think that having a sales call is just having a conversation. And while yes, the process and the steps of a sales call are to build a relationship, there is more nuance to it than that. And the biggest place where I see business owners collapse under sales calls is when they lack conviction in their offer and the price point they put on it. And so when they get those challenging questions from prospects on calls, such as, well, what's the revenue I can expect to make from working with you? Or what's the outcome I can expect to make from working with you? Or how soon will I feel better, right? For specific industries. If you are not willing And of course, not putting guarantees behind it unless you have a guarantee. But if you are not willing to answer those questions with authority, with conviction, with knowing that your product, if your client follows the steps, will get them to X result, if you doubt that outcome that you've put in your marketing and now you're having a sales call, if you doubt that that's actually achievable for them, then one, that's not a good client for you, that's not a good client for you, so you should not move them into your offer. But if you see that again and again, then that actually is because you, as the founder, lack conviction in your offer. So at that point, you can lower the price to match the actual outcome that you can deliver. Go back and look at your marketing and fix where you've overpromised if you have. There's different ways that you can navigate that, but regardless, it is not in your best interest, it's not in your prospect's best interest to have a sales call where they're gonna ask, and they will, at this price point, when you're selling $5,000, $20,000 offers, the conversations get tough. And if you as the founder cannot elevate and meet those conversations with open arms and get excited when you get the hard questions, then you are not going to be successful. And you cannot, especially when you're just starting out, you are not going to be able to find a closer unless you work with our agency. We actually do this. It's one of the rare exceptions, but you are not going to be able to find a closer on your own who is going to come in without pre-recorded videos, without seeing you actually close calls. So if you think that just bringing in a closer to come in and take those sales calls for you where you have failed is going to magically fix your business, it won't. So that's the second thing. So we have, what's your marketing strategy? Now, fixing your sales process. How are you selling? What is your sales process? Is it converting, right? All of those things. So now that you have the sales, now we look at where I think it gets more exciting, which is the back end, okay? So now you have a predictable system bringing your clients to you. You know how to sell, or someone on your team knows how to sell and get them to the yes. Now they're in your container. How are you delivering inside of that container? And I don't mean the modules, I don't mean the videos, I mean the level of engagement with your potential client, because your potential client is investing at a high price point. And while you do not need to overextend yourself, you do and should offer a level of white glove service within that program. So that can look different ways for different offers. You can have where you send them a text as a check-in every 2 weeks. If you don't have an offer where they're emailing with you frequently, then you could send an email to them, right? Reaching out, how are you doing? How is the program going? Obviously, if you have group coaching calls or one-on-one calls, then that is the solution. And now you're engaging with them, you're getting that direct feedback, you're having those conversations. You know, at a certain price point, I would argue you also want to have a welcome gift that goes out. You want to send them a welcome to my offer, right? It's a lovely gesture. We did that when I worked inside of finance for Fortune 500 finance corporations. We sent gifts to clients. We sent gifts on their birthdays, right? It's all about the relationship at that point. They've already chosen you. So now it's about giving them not just the delivery of the offer, but delivering an exceptional level of service to them while they're working with you. So that's the third piece, is how can you add a white glove element into your already amazing offer now that you've sold it? And then on the back end of that, now comes the scale, right? So now you're selling, you're getting clients into your offer. Now you're starting to say, okay, where can I pull myself out? How can I remove myself in the business from certain pieces? And where does that make sense? And how do I do that without breaking my business? And I will argue that most founders will start with the sales first. And the challenge, and where I disagree with that, is if you are already closing your calls successfully and you bring in a closer and you completely step out and let this closer, whether they're experienced or not, let this closer step into your sales calls, your revenue is going to plummet. It doesn't mean it won't come back up, but this closer, whether they're experienced or not, they have to learn your offer. They have to have conversations. Every single person closes slightly differently. So when you're thinking about, well, everyone else in the industry says that you should come in and replace yourself with closers to start, I disagree with that. And that's not what I have done in my business to scale successfully. Where I look is, where am I spending time that could easily be delegated to someone else, right? Where am I spending time where if I have the right person in that role, I can step out of that piece, but the business doesn't break. The sales still come in. The clients are still getting an amazing experience inside of this offer, right? So when you're thinking about hiring, you want to make sure you're hiring the right person in a way that makes sense so that you aren't breaking anything in your business. And then you can bring closers in, but there's a specific way and I'm not going to go into it in this video, that I recommend that you do that based on what I've done successfully in my own business and where a lot of founders go sideways and why this does not work for them. I help my clients with that. But regardless, you want to look at your where can you replace yourself easily to start. And then lastly, inside of that idea, you also want to think about how do you do that in a way that's sustainable to your offer and your business, where you're bringing people in, but you aren't paying them a flat amount monthly in case revenue goes down, especially when you're first starting. Like, how do you, pricing how you're paying them so that they're compensated very well and fairly so that they will stay with you, very important. But you're also compensating them based in a way that it does not financially strap or put stress on your business, right? This is what I've done at my agency. This is what I help clients do, but this is very important. Because if you are adding on more team members, if you're adding on, if you even think about employees, there's, payroll, all the things that go behind that. So there's ways you can bring people into your business and do it strategically and not strap or add any stress to the revenue and the cash coming in currently. Then on the back end of that, now you look at exiting, right? And when you think about exiting, you are thinking not necessarily to sell. There's two different ways you can exit. You can exit by preparing your business to sell it, but I like to think of exiting as preparing my business for me to completely step out of it. And how do I do that, right? So when you think about exiting, you want to think about what your intent is. So if you're exiting to sell the business, then you want to start to look at the content, the website, places where your face as the founder is currently the face that they are buying from, and start to strategically replace yourself from this as a founder-led website, a founder-led content. You want to start to do more corporate style content, have a corporate website where your face is not the connection to the brand, okay? That's one way to do it. That's if you're preparing to sell and exit, and there's a specific way to do that. You don't want to break your business. You want to do that strategically and slowly. The other way that I think about exiting is really just to get the business where you first started, of the dream that you first had when you built this business, which was to have a business that's making, millions a year, where you are at a high level overseeing things, but you have people underneath you who are navigating and managing the business for you. So when I think about that type of an exit, that is completely replacing yourself entirely inside of your business, to where, you've seen ads and people talking about stepping outside of their business for 30 days will their business break. That's what they're speaking to, this level of exit. So when you replace yourself, do you have the team that can hold all of the places that you're currently holding, and can not only hold them, but do it successfully? And I would argue you'd want them to do it better than you, because you should hire people who are smarter, who are better at what they do than you even are in that specific role. That's the goal, right? As a founder, I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. I don't want to be the smartest person in my business. Do I know how to scale my business? Absolutely. Do I know my business inside and out? Of course. But do I believe that within certain places in that business, there are opportunities where somebody else could come in and take that on better than I can? Absolutely. And that's what you want to think about when you're thinking about exiting, right? And then in the midst of all of that is scaling. And I should have said scaling before exiting, but it's okay. When you're thinking about scaling, how are you going to scale? Of course, there are different ways. If you're running ads, which when you're thinking about scaling, you do need to run ads. Which platform are you on? What's your strategy? How are they coming in? How are you increasing ad spend? How are you measuring ad spend against the cost per acquisition? Is your cost per acquisition staying consistent? Is it going down? All of these different things that need to be navigated and established while you're scaling your revenue. Because to scale, you need more people to see your offer. You do that by running ads. But the ads themselves are not this magic solution. They need to go to a specific place, a specific funnel, a specific way of bringing people into your offers. And once you have that, then you can increase ad spend. From there, once you're increasing ad spend, now you look at the back end. Do you have systems in place to manage most of this? Do you have the team in place to handle the influx of clients? Is everything still going to run as seamlessly when you have 100 clients versus 5, right? Those are the things that you want to think about when you think about scaling. I don't think about scaling personally so much in offers. Now, you do want to have an offer suite, but when I think about scaling, it's having multiple offers branched out from the one that's already converting the best in your business. Yes, that's essential, so that is part of scaling. But when I think about scaling, it's also, to me, what's more important is whatever is selling the best right now, how do we scale that? Then we bring other offers in to supplement that, to give somebody a step up for those that want a higher level and a step down for those that can't quite meet at the offer that's currently bringing the revenue in. This is how you build a business successfully. This is how you build a business without skipping steps. All of this, as I said at the beginning of this video, and I'm going to tie it back now, is how you have a business that is actually sustainable and that grows. And as you can tell from all the steps I just went through, that is not going to happen overnight. So when you are hearing that high ticket offers, somebody turned their ad on and they reached $100,000 months in the first 30 days, they're not telling you how much they're spending in ad spend. And the reality is most founders cannot go in at the level of ad spend. Meta will first restrict your account, but even if they could financially afford it, you can't go in and overnight go in with an ad at $10,000 a day, right? Because most of the people that are talking about $100,000 months that are getting there quickly, they already had a warmed up audience, they already had a proven offer, they turned on ads and they cranked up ad spend. And so while yes, perhaps the ROI was good, maybe they spent $25,000 and made $100, a lot of them are spending $50 and making $100, right? So there's a dynamic behind the scenes that's not always fully disclosed, and that's perfectly fine. But what I am here to remind you of is that there is always an exchange, right? So for me, for my clients, my process, my belief has never been how quickly can we throw ad spend at something and see if it works, and then hope that brings clients through. Because again, with newer offers, you cannot do that. As I said, Meta will shut your ad account down. So when you are thinking about building a truly sustainable, high ticket business, the first month, if you have the offer already ready and you're ready to turn on ads, or you're ready to set your strategy in place if you're doing organic, if you have that ready to go, dependent on your strategy, the first month should bring maybe 1 or 2 clients that are ready to move forward, right? Month 2, it's probably about the same. Month 3 is when everything typically starts to compound and you take off. And month 3 sets the bar. Then from there, you can look at how do we scale, right? So if you're using ad spend, month 3, you can increase ad spend. But the reason that this takes months to warm up is because there are so many variables, especially if you have a new offer, you're a new face in the online space, whether it's organic or ads. People don't know you yet. So now you have to get in front of them. At a higher price point, they need to spend more time with you before they're going to be ready to invest. So if you use ads, then the ads are going to need to see the ad, be retargeted, come into your funnel, go into an email nurture sequence inside of your funnel, close out, come back, book a call 3 weeks later, right? All of this is working, but it works very slowly because you're at an elevated price point. You are asking someone to step in to an outcome that is either financially tied to something that they want, or it's a personal outcome, right? If you're like a mindset coach or a manifestation coach, right? You are asking someone to not only come in and give you a lot of money to get this outcome, but you're also asking them to work with you very closely during that time, and that takes trust. That takes time. Think about yourself when you think about investing into a $20,000 offer. How do you operate? What do you do? Do you go look at their social? Do you look them up on ChatGPT? Do you decide that you can't afford it because it's too high? All of the things that you navigate when you hear a $20,000 price tag or for an offer or for a service are exactly what your ideal client is thinking. This is why in a real world, when you are building a sustainable high ticket business where you want to reach $50,000, $100,000, $1 million months, you have to be willing to lay the groundwork. You have to be willing to let your audience know, like, and trust you, whether that's through ads or organic. That is why when you're selling high ticket, this is not a swift race. It is not something that you are going to come in unless you already have, again, a warmed audience. You've been doing this for years. That's different. But if you are coming in and you do not have any of that in place, it can still happen quickly. I scaled my own agency when I first started a couple of years ago. I scaled to $30,000 months and now well beyond just in the first 5 months. To some people, that seems really fast. To me, it felt fast. To other founders, to other less experienced founders, that feels really slow. But I will tell you that what I did is I laid the groundwork in those first couple of months. I tested, I optimized, I reiterated, I made sure my price point was locked in, that my sales calls were converting. I did all of those things so that that first $30,000 month wasn't guesswork, it wasn't luck, it didn't just happen. And not only that, but it happened again and again, and it built on and it compounded, right? That is the secret to a truly successful, sustainable business. And if you'd like to learn how we help our clients do that, we have many different levels that we work with our clients at. You can find it in the links below this video. But regardless, this is how you scale sustainably. This is not a quick fix, and anyone that would tell you that it is, there is an exchange behind the scenes that they're not being fully transparent with. So when you are ready to sell, when you are ready to scale, when you're ready to market, when you're ready to exit, whatever that looks like for you, there is a clear path forward. It does not happen quickly, but it can happen swiftly with the right strategy and with the right plan.